All right, hello there, everybody. It's Pat Lynch from 98.7 The Gator. From time to time, technology allows us to do a few things that we weren't necessarily able to do just, a short time ago. And that's have guests on, boom, like that, as if we're, in the same room together. And I think we're at least in the same county together. With that in mind, we're going to talk with Jason Newsted. Jason. Hello, Jason.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good.
Good.
Jason, obviously, he was in a band you might have heard of before, Metallica. Many moons ago, right, Jason?
Many moons.
And he now does a deal called the Chophouse Band. And you guys get together a few times each year. And you do things, and we're going to talk about what the Chophouse Band is all about, how it came to be, and the show you got coming up this weekend in Jupiter.
Yes, big time.
I don't know if this is accurate or not. We kind of checked our sources. It said that this was about a half hour ago, said that there were 14 tickets left for your show.
I think there were 12 or 14 that they put up this morning, again, that they found from their guest list that were left over, and I think there'll be a little bit of that in the next 3 or 4 days. A handful here and there, but pretty much sold out. All
right. You can still win tickets, though. You guys have been generous enough to hook us up here at the Gator with some tickets. Go to your website, thechophouseband.com. You can click right there to try to win some tickets to be there at the Maltz Theatre coming up on Saturday. What time are you guys going on, Jason?
We'll be on at 8. We're going to do 2 sets. So we're going to do kind of a hybrid show since it's the theater. And, the number 1 or 2 rule for all entertainers, know your audience. And so we have some season ticket holders there, and then a lot of people coming from all over the country to see the band. So, and some, tattooed metal heads and quite an array. We play to a crowd of about 5 to 95 years old these days. A much more vast audience for the Chophouse Band.
When was this first started to float around in your head, the concept of what you guys are doing? And then we'll get into a little bit about what it'll sound like if you're not familiar with the Chophouse Band.
Nice. So in 1991, August of 1991, we came up with the Black Album, Metallica, and started that big tour. On my first break back, I think I was gone about 6 months in a row, came home for about 6 or 7 days, and made a plan with some local construction guys in Walnut Creek, California, to construct the original Chophouse studio above my garage there, about 1,100 square foot building. And so that was it. In January 8th of 1992 was our official start in the Chophouse, and it was with Jim Martin from Faith No More and guys from Machine Head and Bay Area Cats, Exodus, those kind of guys, all hanging around to start it out. So 30 years, our 30-year anniversary is this year, and that's really what we're celebrating at this show at the Maltz.
What kind of music were you guys playing 30 years ago at the beginning of this idea?
It always has had Johnny Cash involved, and then it kind of all went from there. It started out initially with the people that I mentioned before, and a lot of other players and Bay Area players, and maybe not so much rock guys, jazz players, keyboard guys, and turntablists and things like that would come and play. We'd mix it all up and make this soup. The general idea was to have a sanctuary to go to away from our agendas, away from our tours, away from all that kind of thing where we're, getting rattled and all the way wound out. Come home and have maybe like 1 too many drinks, get your smoke on, have a good time, play some covers, play some improvisational music, make everything just happen, interacting, kind of remembering why you started playing an instrument to begin with. The exact opposite of a regimented show that tours. Try to be loose, try to be play things that you normally wouldn't play in your regiment. So that's how it started, as just joyous, freedom, and it has remained that way until now.
Have you always had I'm partial to heavy metal, hard rock, thrash, that type of stuff. And at one point in my life, I was completely closed-minded to any other kind of music. Were you ever honestly at that point, or did you just kind of keep it to yourself that, there's a lot of other stuff I really liked it. Maybe I won't cop to it because people go, oh, poser, sell out, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Of course. In the time, we call that tunnel vision, right? In the time, I spent, I had the biggest black boot was in the metal world, and certainly I spent my most time playing tempos and agility and dexterity on the fretboard and all that kind of thing. Very important in those years as we're forming Flotsam and Jetsam and busy songs, and who could play fastest. Yes, Motorhead, Iron Maiden, these kind of things ruled my life, absolutely. But I never stopped listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire. I never stopped listening to Ohio Players, Johnny Cash, Tom Waits, John Prine, Segovia, man. I never stopped listening to all of my vast array of things. Just when I spent more time listening to metal or creating the metal, yes, that was it for me. But I never stopped listening to what my brothers gave to me and my parents gave to me in music. The beauty of all the colors. And there's one kind of music to listen to. Good music.
There you go. You mentioned Flotsam and Jetsam, and the last time we chatted, I told you that Doomsday for the Deceiver is one of my all-time favorite thrash albums. It's just
Nice.
Start to finish awesome. Your bass work on there is incredible. And to think back, at this point, I don't know how everything unfolded, but I can't help but think those guys in Metallica heard that album, and when the opportunity presented itself, they were like, we got to get that guy right there. We got to get him.
It really was like that. They obviously, once they put the feelers out, I mean, the floodgates, you can imagine the demo tapes and all the stuff that came in, right? But going back, since you're asking this question, I don't mind talking about this stuff. I usually don't bring it up unless somebody else does, but I remember specifically Lars's house that we built into the garage where we did the Garage Days re-rehearsal. That was in the same block of the original Metallica house in El Cerrito, California. And he had all of the demos and things and 8x10s out on his table there with his girlfriend at the time. And I came walking in there, and my 8x10, the Flotsam one, was on the top of the stack. And she told me, his girlfriend told me, that he pointed at me on the thing and said, "That's the guy," like that. Before we played together or anything. The people that got me the audition, Brian Slagle from Metal Blade Records, he already knew what I was made of with Flotsam. Michael Alago, who signed Metallica originally, he was into Flotsam. He knew what I was made of. I did a lot of correspondence. I worked very hard in tape trading and all these kind of things to get our name out there. But by getting the band's name out there, my name went out there too, because it was my songs and my lyrics and stuff. And so I think that preceded me, the reputation of that, and Brian and Michael saying to these guys, "You got to give this guy some time. He's got some fire." And so I ended up auditioning last. They let everybody else go, and then I went, that type of thing, and there you go.
How'd they break the news to you that you were it? Did you find out right then and there, or was it after?
It's been told quite a few times, but they called back 3 people. It was Troy Gregory, Willie Lang from Laz Rocket, and myself. Troy Gregory ended up taking my place in Flotsam. So it's kind of, that's how they got right down to the cream of the crop, the bottom of the funnel. Those were the guys that were the best out of the 50 that auditioned or whatever. So Lars called me back after I went back to Phoenix, went back 3 days later with those guys, played a new batch of songs. We went out that night drinking too much. And went to Tommy's joint in San Francisco, and they asked me, or they told me, I guess basically, would you like a job? But it was like, I wasn't going to say no, shit.
How was the conversation with what would soon be your former bandmates in Flotsam and Jetsam? It's a bittersweet conversation, right?
That was not an easy thing either. It wasn't easy on either end. Going from either of those bands, man. I was the guy in Flotsam, man, like we were just talking about, really the leader and stuff, and all the business and all the thing and the writing, everything. So when I handed over all the papers to Michael Gilbert and said, "Hey, buddy, it's up to you now, man. I got to move on." And they're saying, I don't blame you. I would have done it too, right? But when I went to rehearsal, as we went to do our last show, Halloween of was that 86? Halloween of 86 was the last Flotsam show. And we had black armbands on for Cliff. When we rocked that, that shit. Was a big show.
Yeah.
And so, but those rehearsals that week leading up to that last show, Eric Knudsen, Eric A.K., the singer, I had written this our laws, bylaw, whatever you want to call it, mantra, you know, like consistency, don't be late, be in tune, like all the shit, man. Like, just, we're following this, you guys. Yeah. And then Eric adds at the very end, go join another band. And it's like, oh, so it wasn't easy. They didn't like it, certainly, but what that afforded them. I mean, they immediately got signed to a major label. They went on major tours. They had 3 or 4 albums on a major label right after I joined the band. You know, I tried to make it possible for all of us to reap. You know, I tried my best. I think there was no other way for them to ever be bigger. We couldn't, I mean, I don't know what would have happened, of course, but I don't know if we would have signed to Elektra the same year that our Metal Blade album came out. That, I don't know, man, you know?
It had to have been, though. I know at that, the timeline we're on, the, you know, going and joining Metallica, Metallica still hadn't completely exploded to the level they're at right now.
No.
And I would have to still think, despite that, going from the atmosphere being in Flotsam and Jetsam, where you might have been feeling like you were scratching and clawing for everything you could get, to maybe going up a notch or two, where you, all of a sudden now you've got accessibility and the ability to do things that you had never even dreamed of before.
Dude, a notch or 70, you know?
Yeah.
So, let's see, I was asked to join the band October 28th of 1986. November 10th, we were touring Japan. Metallica for the first time. Them for the first time too, you know, those 3 guys. So Metallica as a band for the first time in this new place that's known for incredible fan worship, you know. The surreal is the only way. I mean, the 2 weeks earlier for the show with Flotsam, my old Ford Ranger truck, and I loaded my SBT in there, and I loaded my stuff, and I carried it back to the thing, you know. 2 weeks later, there's a whole road crew to move all my stuff forever after that. So, and I didn't really, Flotsam never got to the bus touring level when I was in them. We were always just on our own vans and trucks.
Yeah.
And when I jumped into Metallica, they were just to the place where they started on planes. So I kind of skipped over that part. I went from van to plane. And then some of the stuff that we did in Europe, we'd have to go on some buses, because that's the way it goes in some of those places. You know what I mean? It's different than flying from Arkansas to Tennessee, right, or whatever. So that was still busing for a little while, but basically, really, I jumped out of my Ford Ranger into a Learjet.
I had to tell you, as a longtime Metallica fan, there's one thing that always stuck with me, and I don't know if you guys picked up on it or not. I'm going to talk the Monsters of Rock tour. I went and saw the show at the old Orange Bowl Stadium in Miami. Rest in peace, Orange Bowl, that old dump.
About 130 in the shade.
Yeah, you guys played second right after Kingdom Come. And then you got Dokken and the Scorpions and Van Halen out there. And I cannot tell you, Jason, how many people in that stadium that day were there to see you guys. The other bands, okay, fine. But I'm like, this band that they're playing second is kind of a joke.
That's what had to happen because of the way the world goes and stuff, you know. And Van Halen been where they've been, and Scorpions been where they've been, and everything. I will say that Dokken, not much better for the wear. You know, I mean, they got some not such great reception for trying to follow us, man. You know, God bless them with, they had some radio hits and things like that, but as far as the sheer ferocity, velocity, people just, that was the beginning of our trajectory with me in the band as American conquest. We'd already been really big in Europe and other places by then, but America, that was when we started really hitting.
And we're still, you know, at that point, American radio still was not embracing you guys. And all of it, none of us as fans could ever understand that for the life of us.
Yeah.
And now that I work in radio, I see the other side of the coin, and I still see it the same way. That was dumb.
It kind of happened how it had to. As we were doing, you know, the Black Album re-release a few months back in the box and all that kind of crazy thing, and I got, you know, we talked about doing it together, and I would liner notes that we did for things and presenting the box set, and all just kind of jumping back into the fold and helping out to promote product. Like, pretty good at that over time. And so
Sure.
we wanted to join for that. And so it was, as I was thinking about and doing interviews, speaking specifically about what you're talking about with the radio power globally. The softest song of Metallica to that date was Nothing Else Matters. There was already Fade to Black and stuff. It gets heavy as hell at the end. And there's the instrumentals and stuff, but that's not something they really favor on the radio. So Nothing Else Matters was the ballad, the first ballad from this heavy band. That softest song broke down the biggest walls for us to take the heaviest songs to the people. And it couldn't have happened the opposite way. We couldn't have broke down all the walls with Fight Fire and Creeping Death and, Battery and stuff to be able to have Nothing Else Matters for the masses. It just does not work that way. So that was the surprise, if you want to call it that. I don't know if somebody else would have known it by then. I certainly didn't realize until after the fact.
When you started hearing yourself on the radio, was it weird to you?
It was an incredible victory.
Yeah.
To hear, it's one thing, yeah, got used to the radio thing, and that was very exciting, right? The thing that really got me, and still does to this day, when you go to hockey, football, basketball, baseball, whatever game that you go to, professional sports, the bass intro, or the bass in the intro to Enter Sandman, because it's such a long building intro, it rocks whatever building, whatever stadium that sports event is taking place in. I mean, you just got bumps just thinking about that. That makes me feel really, really proud and a bit powerful.
I think the best example of that is at Virginia Tech, their entrance when the team comes out in that stadium. And I've seen some of those entrances there at Virginia Tech. The Hokies come running out. And I'm like, how is that stadium even still holding up with all that action that's going on in the student section, then around the whole stadium as well? It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's an incredible thing. It's one of those things you really couldn't predict. But when it finally does happen, it's like, wow, man, that is a really shiny part of the crown for me. I really like that.
Speaking about the anniversary of the Black Album and your involvement with that's got to be, does that still, when you think back that it's been that long, it's got to still seem like it was just yesterday, right? Can you believe it's
about 3 weeks ago?
Yeah. Unreal. Some of the stuff that was released in conjunction with that was just really cool fan-specific stuff, and I think us as fans really appreciate all that stuff.
Me as a fan also appreciated that, because I think if you really dig into that, I am the only one out of 7 billion whatever people that there are. I am the only one, and I'm in an exclusive club with 7 or 8 people that were in or are in Metallica. But I am the only one that was a fan to begin with. Learned their whole album the day it came out. Joined the band, went to its highest places it's ever been, and then stepped back out. And I'm able to look back, but still be a member of Metallica. So I'm the only one. And so to have that view of the before, during, and after thing, I feel just really, I don't know, man, special, I guess is the word. I did work hard for it and all those kind of things, but it is an incredible place to be, and being included. Those guys, I just signed some stuff a couple of days ago and sent back for the fan club. We still do that. We're still connected. We're still in business for life. But it's a wonderful thing, man.
And hey, let's be honest here. That's enabled you to do what you do now and go where you want to go and do the things that, that are important to you right now. Chophouse Band being one of those things.
Exactly right. And I think it's very important for everybody to know how gracious that we have been to each other. Like, the band has been very gracious to me, and I have tried to be the same and take the high road. I will not say a negative word about Metallica. I will defend them till the end, no matter what anybody wants to go after, because I know better. That kind of thing. It's such an important thing to keep the pride together, keep the respect together. Look at what it's become. Is there really a bigger band on the planet overall, globally? I don't think so. There is U2. There is, well, Muse isn't going anymore, right? What's another headlining band? Because it ain't Kiss. You know, it's not that generation. There's not anybody from that generation that's as powerful as Metallica. Kiss still hasn't sold as many records as Metallica. I'm sorry. They had a 10-year jump on Metallica. They still haven't sold. Tom Petty hasn't sold more than Metallica. The fuck? Excuse me. You know what I mean? Really, it's. I'm not saying this out of this. Ooh, look at my big head. I'm just stating the facts. Like, is there actually a bigger band globally? I don't think so.
No.
So that kind of thing, and still, you know, it's still doing the thing and still doing what they want to do, and being bigger every time, every stadium, every country, every continent, all continents they've played, but now actually. So it's just holy crap, man. Think about that. It's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. The determination and conviction of those people as a collective. That's why there's only one. Yep. That's where the biggest. Nobody has played their game that righteously for 40 years like that. Worked that hard, taking it to the people. They're the ones, man.
I agree, 100%, man, 100%. All right, I want to get into more about that Chophouse Band in the show coming up this weekend. Before we do that, though, you got a lot of people's attention with that Palm Beach Post interview last week. That
was bad, dude. I'm not happy about that. I'm really, really not happy about that.
Did they, I can tell you're irritated. Did they print stuff that you had off the record? Said was off the record? Can you answer that?
I agreed. I don't do very many interviews anymore, you know.
Right.
And I agreed to do that to promote the show for the kids.
Right.
We do benefit shows to put paintbrushes and guitars in kids' hands. That's what I'm doing now. Right. What you talked about before. The Metallica Black Album did so well, and it still does to this moment. Because of that, I'm able to do what I want with whatever projects I have going. The Chophouse Band is the longest running project. The things that we do 5 to 6 times a year, we do a benefits, period, for art programs for kids. That's it. Music classes and art programs. That's why I agreed to do that interview, was to forward the information about the Goldner Conservatory at the Maltz Theater that's going to have classes for kids and do exactly what I said with guitars and paintbrushes. So if I go to talk about that, and I mention 2 little things over here about the calls that I've received in the past 20 years from whoever it is, Alice Q, Aerosmith, whatever, man, whatever. I was just listing a list of the calls that I received over time that never went anywhere. I only said yes to a couple out of the 30 that I've received. Yeah. And I mentioned a couple of the more that impressed me. You know, like people that if I wouldn't have had their records, I wouldn't play the way I do. They call me on my home phone and say, you want to come and jam with us? Dude, I'm off the ground. I'm levitating. I'm like, what? Why would Aerosmith call me? You know, that's a big freaking deal to a kid. Just a kid from a farm in Michigan, dude, and the guy from Aerosmith calls, he has to come and play bass. How many ever years later when you stole that album from your brother's collection? Right. It's freaking huge, right? That's all I was doing. I talked about 2 seconds about that. And that's what they chose to go for. They didn't talk about the conservatory, the kids' classes, the things that we're doing, the Chophouse Band, why we do what we do. You know, nobody makes any money in the Chophouse Band. Everybody volunteers their time. The camera guy, the guitar tech. We just do it to try to help out and give back. That's it. We're trying to make some community thing. So when the press runs with it that way, and also I think just the straight up lack of awareness, lack of study about what my past story is that's already been told 700 times. You know, those kind of things that are already very, very obvious news that you could get that information. Why do you ask me that question again? Doesn't make any sense. But let's get on to what we're getting on with. There is a future here. Everybody knows about my past. Let's please talk about what's coming, not what has already happened. So that really rubbed me wrong, and I got to be very careful. Like this right here, this is real stuff. I know better. I know what's going to happen here. I know this is respect, right? The other, I don't know what interviews I'll do again. I'm not sure if I'll say yes to any.
Did you call that writer back?
She got disinvited to the show, for sure.
Yeah, and guess what? She probably doesn't give a shit.
I don't really know, and I don't really care.
No, it's a bigger problem just in the media these days. They're all out for themselves, and a lot of times, sensationalism is the only thing they see, or to create, and it causes a lot of problems.
It really does. It was not the right thing and not the reason that we did it at all. We're trying to create awareness of this new facility that the Maltz people have taken on, and all the sponsors and everything. They've got so many gazillions into this thing. Dude, it's like, I don't want to misquote. I think it's 60,000 square feet.
It's incredible.
And it's just in it. There's floors for kids to dance and kids to play, and rooms for to have their band jam in. And dude, come on, man! It's a magical, magical place. It's going to be amazing, and that's all I'm trying to let everybody know. We don't have something like this in our communities, and now we're going to. It's important.
How on that note, let's talk more about that. The grand scheme of things, and mom and dad who might be watching this right now, who have a budding artist or musician who are like, I want to get my kid involved in something like that. What do they need to do?
You can contact the Maltz Theater and ask them about the Golden Conservatory and the classes that are coming up, all that thing, And I'll also mention the Lighthouse Art Center. We've had something to do with them for 5 some years now. Chophouse goes and annually plays there to raise money. We saved their art school a couple of years ago. There's just certain things that go on in this community where people really, really want to see kids be given a chance. You see some potential in somebody, cultivate it.
Yeah.
Make sure to give them a chance. Try to set them up for success if you can, because there are those that have special aptitude. Need to recognize it. Get that guitar in their hand, man.
That's awesome. So, again, to stress, and Jason said it several times here, Chophouse Band is not a money-making deal. Not for you guys personally. It's a benefit deal to help out folks in the community. And that is just, to me, amazing that you've been doing this now for 30 years. And a lot of times the credit is not given when it should be. And I want to make sure you and your fellow bandmates are getting the credit for what the whole purpose is behind this.
We receive great rewards in the work that we see the kids do, the clay that they make, the paintings they make, the songs they come up with, Little Kids Rock and stuff like that. They're doing it almost 20 years. And when they come up, now they're grown up and they have bands, and they have their own kids that have bands and stuff, just see the generations. Incredible. That's the reward. When I give them a guitar, I've given away lots of instruments in my life, man. And I'll give, Jay, how can I pay you back? Make me a song, dude. Make me a song. That's all. That I don't want anything that has anything to do with money. You make me a song, make me a painting, make me a drawing, make me a freaking mug to have my coffee in. Show me what you can do with this opportunity. That's what we want to do. So the Chophouse Band, you're talking about the Black Album affording us to be able to do all these things that we want to do. I choose very carefully the people that I affiliate myself with as far as the any kind of charities and stuff like that. We make sure they're the real deal and the instruments are getting, the money's going where it's supposed to go. And the band now, during my COVID downtime, I was in upstate New York. I wrote about 35 new songs during that. I brought it back to my boys. I send them the tapes, the demos, and then it's up to them to learn them and then bring them to me. We put it together out of the big speakers. And that's what we're going to do at the Maltz. We're playing a couple songs that people are familiar with as far as like Johnny Cash and stuff. But most of it is all new original music from the Chophouse Band. I'm not playing any acoustic guitar anymore. It's just Les Pauls and SGs and stuff now. Some of it's a little quieter, but most of it's not. And the Chophouse Band started out as more of kind of almost a bluegrass tinged thing. And now it gets to some places that are as heavy as anything else that I've been involved in. Voivod, Ozzy, Metallica, Newsted Band, any of that stuff. It gets to those places now. So I'm excited for people that are down, like you're at the beginning of our conversation. People that are down with the devil, they come and check this out and know that plenty of good water in this well, baby.
You like singing?
I love singing. And now something really cool to do that since the last time anybody saw the Chophouse Band, we have a vocal group within the band. Now there are 4 singers in the band.
Yeah.
And so I have 2 singers from New York, a female and male singer that are coming down to join us. And so I'm singing, I don't know, 8 or 10 songs, and then they're singing the rest, but I do background vocal way up here and stuff now. So I'm playing this crunch, and I can actually really concentrate on playing the guitar, and then singing that background stuff and those screaming and some roar also, so that still haven't lost that. It let people know that there's still one foot in that place. You could, like I said before, you could take the boy out of the metal, can't take the metal out of the boy. It's just the way it is always going to be. So I'm excited for people to be able to witness what we have been working so hard at. I've put a lot of energy into these new songs, and we start recording our first album May 5th, the first Chophouse album.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Are you going to put that out yourself?
Yes, sir. Actually, it's possible, very possible, that I'll be back into the Q Prime fold with that kind of backing and stuff, like a real deal thing. Yeah. Nice.
Love hearing. So I know you spend time around the country. How much time are you spending in South Florida these days? Is this most of the home base now, or
6 months? Six months in one day, Pat.
Yeah. No, I hear you. No state income tax. Anyway, hey, are you get recognized when you're out walking around? How often do you get recognized?
So I went to the Walgreens this morning to get some stuff and waiting there in line, and dude just goes, "You saw the show yet?" I go, "What?" I go, "What?" And he goes, "You saw the show?" And I go, "Well, yeah." I go, "You going to be there?" He goes, "Of course."
Nice.
He got his tats, and everything. I'm like, that's freaking awesome. People are just cool, man. Yeah. There's very, very few times, even in all the years, very few times anybody gets out of line. And the thing about it that we learned over time, it's all self-policing.
Yeah.
Okay. So if somebody is actually bringing me negative vibrations or trying to step up on me or something like that, there's about 3 or 4 or 6 people that I don't say anything to. They just come up and go, "There'll be none of that."
Right.
I just, all through the years, never had an issue with anything, because there's always people looking out for you just out of respect. Yeah. It's like, you played that part in my life, man. If you guys wouldn't have done that record or that song at that time, then I don't know where I would be. I don't know how many hundreds, but definitely hundreds of times in my career, people have come up to me and said, "If it wasn't for you guys, I would have killed myself. If it wasn't for you guys, I would not be here today. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't have married this person. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't have still be with my family. I wouldn't," this kind of stuff all the time still. So that is the mark of success. The people in the world, the way the world goes, you got to have your title that comes before your thing, and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and the Grammy Award, and the Oscar winner, all whatever it is that you do. This great doctor, and this, the title that comes before it. That's the way the world measures things. You sold this many platinum records and all this stuff. But the actual measure is how many people you make smile, how many people you bring joy to, how many people you actually, is it, when we're all dying, out there in the pit and everything, it may not look happy, joyous, but it's joyous. It's releasing. It's feeling a part of something that's bigger than yourself. These kind of things. That is the reward. That is success.
All those things you just listed off about fans volunteering to you about what they meant or mean to you guys, or, to them personally, that's heavier than any music.
There have been times where you have to pause.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I prided myself in through all the years is making the contact with the fans. And one of my mantras, you never look down upon those that look up to you. I always try to create the eye level eye. Always. When somebody comes in, you can already see they're nervous, man. They waited for 7 months to come into the backstage to say hi to you for 2 seconds. They got their album to be signed. They call you by your first name.
Yeah.
All this kind of stuff. And you go right up to them and they're like, "Oh," and they're really nervous. And I get them right away and they can look me in the eye. "Who brought you here today? Who'd you come with? What song you want to hear tonight, man? What's your favorite song off Master?" Like right away, we are bros in this, okay? Like I happen to be on the stage, you happen to be there, but let's not forget something, okay? The crowd is the show, and the band is the entertainment.
Love it. Let's put that website up there one more time, chophouseband.com. The show is literally, if it's not sold out by now, it will be today at some point. However, you guys have been good enough to get us some tickets here at the Gator to give away, and you can go right through your band's website to try to win those, Jason.
Yep, absolutely.
All this money spent on these tickets and raised for this show. Tell them one more time where this all goes, Jason.
So the Goldner Conservatory at the Maltz Theatre is a separate section that is for youth art and music programs. So it's all the way from your theater stuff to an acoustic guitar, to a violin, piano, drums, all those things, different combinations of ensembles, dance, art, the whole thing. Anything you possibly do for younger people in our community to try to taste, what I keep on chasing, what I want other people to taste, feel what I feel. Start the song together, end the song together. You know, that the victory of that, what goes through you, and the feeling of accomplishment, like, whoa, man, we made that happen. Did you hear the people react to that, dude? You know, that kind of thing, man, that kind of feeling. I want other people to feel that too. Jason
Newsted, dude, thank you so much for taking so much time out of your schedule today to chat with us here at the Gator. And, you know, I have always admired not only your musical chops, but your just straight up, unvarnished, you know, view on all things. And the world needs more of that right now.
Appreciate that, dude. Thank you. It was nice to talk to you. It's been a long time.
Yeah, okay. Jason Newsted, go see the Chophouse Band. If you got your tickets, you're already in. If you haven't, better win them. Get over to chophouseband.com and be there at the Maltz Theatre on Saturday nights.
Right on. Thank you. And keep an eye out for the record, people.